Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Town of Waukesha Town Board meeting on February 28, 2019 at 6:30 p.m. I'd like to call the meeting to order and begin with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And Madam Clerk, could you call the roll?
Chairman Mayor.
Present.
Supervisor Fisher.
Here.
Supervisor Durr.
Here.
Supervisor Radke.
Here.
Supervisor Wolf.
Here. And Madam Clerk, have we met the requirements of the open meeting law?
Yes, we have.
And we can begin with citizens' comments. Going once.
Good evening.
Good
Sandy
evening.
Hom, West 230, South 3827, Milky Way Road. And I'm just going to repeat myself briefly and just say that I'm looking at a lot of these items on here, and I encourage the board to treat each other and all of our residents as they would like to be treated, the golden rule. And that's really all I want to offer tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else? Then we can move on to reports, beginning with the Administrator, Clerk, Treasurer.
In your packets, I gave you a written report. I have a little summary and update on the generator. We had purchased the additional salt that you approved last month, and I wanted to thank Director Noli for his doing such a great job in organizing his team and keeping our streets safe, as well as being cognizant of our budget. Both the 2003 dump truck and the 1997 pickup were sold, and we came out with $11,300. Our annexation with the Village of Big Bend has been completed and has been filed with the Department of Administration and all the governing documents. The Village of Big Bend reimbursed us $2,200 for legal fees. In the treasurer's, we have our audit paperwork done with our auditor. The auditor will be ready to give a full report at the annual meeting. I have the general fire inspection and capital funds revenue and expenses down on the report. We've had some public records requests. All of the resolutions for the assessor errors that have been approved have been completed and sent out. Our non-compliance is down to 6 properties. 3 are in court, 1 is closed, and 2 are here requesting an extension tonight. I'd like to remind the residents periodically to go on the email notification. Periodically, new documents or new folders are added. Recently, the bypass folder has been added. Big Bend annexation and non-compliance folder has also been added to the document center. And we are now currently gearing up for the upcoming election. And that's my report.
Thank you. Any questions for the clerk?
So just to go back on the email and the website, so for the new folders, the residents can sign up so that they're given an email notification anytime a document is added to that or other folders. Is that right?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Then we can move on to the DPW. Good evening, Mr. Noli.
Good evening. He's on. In February, we had a pretty eventful snow removal month. We were out on February 6th, 7th, 10th, 12th, 13th, 17th, 18th, 20th, 24th, 26th, and 27th. In between that, we hauled salt in from the county yard, maintained equipment as needed, responded to job orders, took care of a couple of damaged mailboxes. We're pretty good at hitting those. And routine vehicle and equipment maintenance. I'd like to thank the staff that I have this year for snow removal. It's been the best we've ever had. Mike Borchert is a town resident. Andre is a town resident. Paul, our new full-time person, is working out really good. It's probably the best year we've had in the last 5 years. So I think we're doing real good. Our contractor has stepped up to the plate. I think he's doing a good job this year. A little rough around the edges. He had some new drivers at first, but I think we're doing a good job. In March, we're going to continue with snow, ice removal as needed. I've got three culvert installs. I got one on Tim Drive, one on Spafford, one on Juniper. I got temporary pipes in place because of the frost in the ground and whatnot. Take care of job orders. I've got road patching. I'm sure you all know with the kind of season we've had, the roads are really taking a beating. We got a lot of potholes. We got buckles, heaves, culverts that dropped. And it's been a rough year. We're going to take care of vehicle and equipment maintenance. Hopefully get back to some tree and brush work. That's my report.
Thank you. Any questions for Jerry? And we can move on to the fire department. Good evening, Chief.
January had 36 ambulance requests, 6 motor vehicle accidents, 14 fire responses. Mutual aid was given 6 times, and we received mutual aid 14 times. 13 of that was our joint paramedic operation. We have 33 active members. 4 members are on leave of absence, 1 secretary treasurer, and 4 high school cadets. And the 2019 fire inspections continued.
Questions for Chief? Thank you. And lastly, the sheriff. Good evening, Deputy and Captain.
Good evening. I'll introduce myself. I'll be the new liaison for the Sheriff's Department. Captain Mark Moonen, and for the record, it's M-A-R-C and then M-O-N-E-N. I'm excited to oversee the contract, and you guys are in great hands with Deputy Moose being your deputy.
Thank you. Good evening, Deputy.
Hi. For the month of January, we had 64 total calls for service. Of those, 2 911 hang-ups, 8 assist other agency calls, 4 assist fire department or EMS, 4 disabled vehicle calls. We had 71 building checks or subdivision checks, 5 suspicious calls, 20 total citations, including regular citations, ordinance citations, and parking citations. 6 follow-up investigations, 3 well-being checks. For traffic incidents, 6 property damage accidents, 1 car deer, and 9 other traffic offenses. 2 animal calls, 2 disorderly conducts, a missing person, a suicide attempt call, and 9 other calls for service.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Questions for the deputy? Thank you.
Thanks.
Have a good evening. On to 7, meeting minutes of January 24th, 2019. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion we approve the minutes for January 24th, 2019.
And a second.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. On to 8, discussion and possible action on Tyler Technology Assessor Services Contract for the 2019-2021 for the years 2019 through 2021 with a reval to be done in 2019. And we have Marty here with us tonight. Madam Clerk, do you have anything you want to say about this?
The last time this was on the agenda, we tabled it to this meeting. So then they would put some dates in there and also some reporting during the evaluation, and that has been done.
Questions for the assessor and or the administrator?
Kathy,
Is there?
You requested our review. I don't think I've gotten that back to you yet.
That's correct.
Okay, so it would have to be subject to our review.
Okay. Is there a motion subject to the attorney's review?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. On to B. This is a request from Dr. Richard Salem for a refund of personal property taxes that were possibly due to an assessment error on Smiles for Miles Family Dentistry at tax key WAKT S070 per state statute 7433. And Madam Administrator.
We have Smiles for Miles has had vacated the property in December of 17, and we were not properly notified. We gave them a personal property tax bill, and I had contacted them to check to see if they were still in the town. They are not. So we have charged them for the extra taxes that they were not here to. And I think Marty might have some more to say.
Yeah, the procedure that we follow, there's a self-reporting personal property form that is required to be filled out by the commercial or the business personal property accounts. The form was mailed to them early in the year. It had a March 1st deadline. Middle to the end of March, for the folks that did not send a form in, I sent a reminder letter out to them saying that I haven't received their form. No communication, no form was given to us, no communication with the property owner. No returned mail to the assessor's office, the flags that I would follow. So then when we completed the assessment roll, I created an estimated assessment, which is called a doomage assessment. There was no other further discussions either at open book or board of review, and then come tax time is when these discussions came up. So through that research, it does appear they were not there, and that you should not have generated an assessment for the property, and ask the board to consider that.
Thank you. Is there a motion? I'll make the motion to refund the personal property tax. Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion.
Just a question, what's the sum of money involved? Pardon? The amount of money involved?
As an assessment was $52,800, a total tax bill of $625.14 was generated. Later this year, by October 1st, a form will be submitted to the Department of Revenue asking them to charge the other entities. If we have $500 of amount, they should honor the chargeback. The only jurisdiction that would not be able to recoup the error amount would be the town itself. So the town's portion of that is something that cannot be charged back. It cannot be recouped. But the school, county, VOTEC, those are ones that they would refund. They would consider that in their levies for next year.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Was there any reason that they gave for not notifying us?
No. They moved. They said they never received it, and it's never came back to me.
So this was not for tax paid?
No, this was when I received the property tax that were unpaid.
Okay.
I noticed they were our biggest offender at $600, so I reached out.
So we're not refunding them money?
No,
okay.
We're just getting our money back that we had to pay the school districts.
Right. Understand. Thank you.
Marty, you would not routinely go and make sure that property owners are still there, would you? That would take...
I do. I mean, I do. This time I was a little pressed. I didn't have a chance to do that. This year I'm going to have to. Well, we're going to be out in the field with the revaluation, so I'll be driving by the commercial property, so I'll be able to validate definitely the personal property counts, especially if they do not report back to us.
Anything further? All in favor then?
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed.
Motion carries.
I would like to abstain, Mr. Chairman.
And an abstention. Motion still carries. On to C, discussion and possible action on the extension for Sherry Cluse non-compliance property located at South 43 West 22351 Beheim Road. Good evening. Come on up. How are you tonight?
I'm okay.
Good. So, can you give us an update?
I'm requesting an additional 60 days as I need to remove two buildings from the front yard that are currently in snowbanks. Everything's frozen to the ground under the snow.
Understood.
So I just need more time to. The smaller ones were easy, that I didn't even realize were technically buildings. But the remaining two in the front yard, they would need to be sold and removed.
Okay.
And the weather is not helping me.
Not helping anybody.
Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion that we grant a 60-day extension.
And a second.
Second.
Discussion?
So as I understand it, the only thing that's left to be out of compliance is the two in the front yard?
For this, yeah, because the other things were just portable storage boxes.
Is that how we understand it from the inspector's point of view?
Yes.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Anything further? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Have a good evening. On to D, discussion and possible action on an extension for CISA number 1 for noncompliance property located at South 22 W22660 East Broadway. Good evening.
Good evening. I'm Mary Gavigan, Executive Director of CISA 1. Thanks for the opportunity to be able to speak to you this evening in behalf of CISA 1, our conditional use permit that we have at the Broadway property, and make a request for an extension to complete the leveling of the gravel and backfilling behind the retaining wall after the winter months. And as you know, CISA 1 serves 45 school districts here in southeastern Wisconsin, and that includes all of the Waukesha County school districts. For the past 19 years, we have had an alternative education program at this property that we're discussing this evening. Last year, we determined that there was a need to add a middle-level component, which we have done, for students who may be experiencing academic or emotional challenges and were not excelling in their home district. Currently, we're serving some middle-level students, 8 to 9 of them in Building 3, and students in grades 9 through 12 in a credit recovery alternative education program in Building 4. These high school students are on track to graduate from high school with a high school diploma or through a GD option 2, and all of these students were at risk previously of not graduating within their home high school. And we do have formal contracts with all of our school districts who choose to place a student with us in these programs. As you know, and as I shared with you in December, CISA 1's goal is always to be a good citizen. We wish to function within the law. We want to maintain good relations with you and maintain good relations with our landlord while we serve the children in the region with these educational programs. And while we do have questions regarding the validity of the expectations outlined in number 7 in the conditional use permit, given the ordinance in the town, and that we don't have control over the exterior of the premises, we have worked, we are working, and we will continue to work to ensure total and full compliance with the CU. I do want to acknowledge that prior to December, we were not aware of the noncompliance issue, and we were not aware of the ongoing conversations that had been going on between the landlord and the representatives of the town prior to that December meeting. But notwithstanding the fact, we are committed to diligently working with the landlord to ensure total and full compliance. After meeting with the inspector for the town of Waukesha and the property owner on site on February 14th to assess the status of the conditional use permit, we have validated substantial progress has been made. All items have been completed other than the leveling of the gravel and the backfilling behind the retaining wall, which both need to be done after the winter months. So in summary, since being made aware of any noncompliance with the CU, we have worked swiftly to ensure all conditions of the conditional use permit are met. Of the several items that were required, only the leveling of the gravel and the backfilling behind the retaining wall remain, and those have not been completed due to the weather, which is outside right now of CISA 1's control. The town's letter indicates to us that extensions require substantial progress documented by the building inspector. Substantial progress confirmed by the building inspector has occurred, and I believe you all have a copy of that. Therefore, given the substantial progress outlined in our letter and verified by the building inspector, we believe an extension is warranted to complete the leveling of the gravel and the backfilling behind the retaining wall. And as soon as the weather allows, the property owner has assured us this will be taken care of, and CISA will be closely working and monitoring the progress to ensure full compliance with the CU. We respectfully request the town of Waukesha grant an extension of time until July 1st, 2019, or some other reasonable extension period for successful completion of this work, taking into account right now the winter months. Thank you very much for your consideration.
Thank you. Is there a motion? In the interest of time, I'll make a motion for an extension, not necessarily in that time frame, but I'll amend my motion at such time as we come to a consensus of time. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Discussion. I think that holding this out till July 1st is not reasonable. This has been going on for quite a number of months. I believe the clock's ticking at somewhere around 8 months at this point. I could see my way to something around April 1st or maybe even tax day.
I
We
guess
greatly appreciate that.
I guess I'd like some clarification from a few items of your statement. So what I thought I heard you say early on in your statement was that you don't necessarily agree that item 7 in the conditional use applies because of the ordinances that we have in the town, but that you would work with the landlord to resolve the issue. So I'm a little confused as to whether between you and the landlord there's a commitment to address the items in number 7 of the conditional use.
There is a commitment, and I will speak in behalf of CISA 1. And while from the beginning it struck us as very unusual with some of the items that were placed in that CU, and honestly, we didn't receive a written copy of that CU until December, but neither here nor there. It's in the CU, and we are committed to taking care of this. And that is the request this evening, totally. Our goal is to get this resolved constructively.
So to the administrator, is that right, that they didn't get a copy of the CU until December?
Right, John, their staff person did not take a copy.
Okay, thank you.
Who signed the CU on behalf of CISA?
John.
John did. And at the time of signing, he did not receive a copy, and he is no longer with us.
Okay.
So he signed a copy that he didn't have?
He signed a copy, but we were not provided a written copy. It was in progress, is my understanding, when that was signed, and we did not receive a written copy of it.
Okay, so he came in, signed the copy in front of myself as the notary.
And that was a full copy of the CU?
And that was a full copy. It was already, he did not request a copy. He just was fine signing it and moving on. I didn't stop him.
When did he sign it?
Before September 1st, because it was before the school year started.
I'm going to recommend when you pick a date, in essence, if you say some date early in April, you're really saying March 28th, because she'd have to be here on March 28th with an update. So you might still have snow on March 28th. And I'm just being practical here. If you say April 1st, that really means March 28th, because that's your board meeting. And so you could pick, I'm sorry, Ken.
Our April board meeting is April 25th.
That's where I was going at. So I was just doing the 28th, because if they give an April 1st date, she can't wait till April 25th to come in and ask for and give you an update.
Right.
That's the point I'm making.
Yep.
So if you're thinking April, the April 25th or the April 11th date would make more sense than April 1st.
Understood.
Is that fair enough?
So let me see your calendar.
does this see you on the board agenda?
September, no, August. August,
Middle August, or?
Yeah, it was the first weekend, or
So the first meeting in August?
Thursday in August.
And what was the commitment then by the landlord? 6 weeks?
6 weeks.
So that would have been the rest of August and all of September, so roughly September 30th ballpark. Right?
yes.
Okay.
April 9th, August 9th, I'm sorry.
I would amend my motion to April 25th if you're agreeable to that, Supervisor Wolf.
Yep.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed?
And abstentions?
Abstain.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good evening. On to E, discussion possible action on operator license for Caitlin D. Faber and Annie M. Saborowski, both serving at Neighbors Bar and Grill. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion that we grant both of those liquor licenses.
And a second.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. On to discussion and possible action for a reserve liquor license application for Lilac Acres Farm, LLC. Adam R. Jewell is the agent. Mr. Jewell, do you have any commentary you'd like to share?
Good evening, everyone. So you all probably have seen me, know me before, but this is for Lilac Acres Farm. This is for the conditional use permit that Lilac Acres was granted in July of this year, I believe it was. Always our intention to come back, get a reserve liquor license, so here we are today.
Thank you. Is there a motion? I'll make the motion for to grant the liquor license. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Discussion.
Mr. Chairman, I'll be voting no on the motion, and here's why. In 2009, the town of Waukesha approved what is called a comprehensive plan, also known as a smart growth plan, which includes a land use plan for the entire town. A copy of the land use plan is hanging on the wall behind me here. The designated land use for Lilac Acres is low density residential, which is 20,000 square feet to 1 acre. Town of Waukesha has a zoning code and a zoning map. The designated zoning for Lilac Acres is R1 residential, which is for lot sizes of 1 acre minimum for single family residences. In June 2018, Attorney John Macy dubbed Lilac Acres a commercial enterprise. No reasonable person could argue with his characterization of this as a business because Lilac Acres has approval to operate 365 days per year, serving the public. Because of the intensity of the operation, it is no longer an event venue, in my opinion. In July 2018, the town board approved a conditional use permit for Lilac Acres. I did not participate in the discussion or the vote for reasons that I have previously explained several times over. Had Lilac Acres sought and received approval from the town of Waukesha to change the land use from residential to commercial and the zoning from residential to business, I would not be opposed to the issuance of the liquor license at this time. But they chose not to do so. I cannot support the issuance of the liquor license which, if granted by this town board, will allow Lilac Acres to operate a commercial business, a commercial enterprise, a business, if you will, selling alcohol to the public 365 days per year on land which is designated for residential use in the land use plan and designated for residential use on the zoning map. This is why I will be voting no, and I would ask when the vote is called, I'd ask for a roll call, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Anybody else? We've got a first and a second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
I ask for a roll call vote, please.
Madam Clerk?
Chairman Merrick,
Aye.
Supervisor Radke,
Aye.
Supervisor Wolf,
Aye.
Supervisor Durr,
Aye.
Supervisor Fisher.
Nay.
Motion carries. On to 9, closed session. You are hereby notified that the town board of the town of Waukesha will convene in May upon duly made and seconded and acted upon by roll call vote as required in Wisconsin Stats 1985, sub 1, sub G, go into closed session during the course of the meeting. Town board members may attend the closed session. The purpose of the closed session will be as follows: to confer with legal counsel for the governmental body who is rendering oral or written advice concerning strategy to be adopted by the body with respect to litigation in which it is or is likely to become involved, specifically to address noncompliance property for Broad A Corporation located at South 22 West 22660 East Broadway. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion, we go into closed session.
And a second.
Second.
And Madam Clerk, a roll call vote?
Mr. Chairman, at this time, because Supervisor Fisher and I are running against each other for the chairman position in the upcoming election, I'll be recusing myself from this agenda item.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, a roll call vote?
Chairman Merrick,
Aye.
Supervisor Wolf,
Aye.
Supervisor Radke,
Aye.
Supervisor Durr, Supervisor Fisher.
Abstain.
Thank you. We are in closed session. We'll be out as quickly as possible. back in open session at 7:12. Is there a motion?
Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we authorize the clerk to work with the prosecutor to settle what was agreed to in closed session.
And a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Lastly, my agenda is gone. I'm stealing Kathy's. Authorization to pay the bills. Is there a motion for $53,522.24?
Move we pay that amount.
And a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I'm sorry, roll call vote. Thank you.
Chairman Merrick?
Aye.
Supervisor Durr?
Aye.
Supervisor Fisher?
Aye.
Supervisor Radke?
Aye.
Supervisor Wolf?
Aye.
Motion carries. And a motion for adjournment.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
And a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And we are adjourned. Did you see that crack of the gavel?